If you've ever listened to a full orchestra with strings, brass, woodwind, and percussion, you know how immensely powerful it can be. Think about a film score, something large and sweeping. Each section enters at the right moment, with the same tempo, the same conductor, and the same score. No single instrument carries the entire piece, yet every instrument matters. Its beauty comes from building on one another, not uniformity. Now imagine just one section playing. A string section can carry a melody, but cannot create depth on its own. Percussion can have rhythm and energy, but no harmonic structure. Brass can have great intensity, but without balance can become overwhelming. Music written for a full orchestra was never meant to be played in pieces. That is exactly how the Bible describes the church. In 1 Corinthians 12, Paul explains that the church is a body made up of many parts. He writes that the eye cannot say to the hand, I do not need you, that the head cannot say to the feet, I do not need you. Paul reminds us that God has placed the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. Every part matters because the body cannot grow unless everyone contributes. God designed the church so that believers build one another up using the gifts that he has assigned. The Old Testament also provides a picture of this. In the book of Nehemiah, the people of Jerusalem were faced with a broken city and a destroyed wall. The solution was not one person rebuilding alone. Instead, Nehemiah organized the people so that families worked side by side. Priests worked with merchants. Carpenters worked with farmers. Each group committed themselves to repairing the section directly in front of them, and together, that wall was restored. In the same way, we, as the body of Christ, need to commit to building it up in order for it to be strong. Nehemiah's story also represents how fragile unity can be. Opposition arose, accusations spread, fear and internal conflict threatened to stop the work. When the people became divided in focus and trust, progress slowed. The wall was strongest when the people stood together, and the weakest where unity was compromised. In Ephesians 4, Paul emphasizes this concept. He writes that the body builds itself up in love only as each part does its work. When the parts of the body stop working together, the body does not simply pause. It becomes unhealthy. People get discouraged. Trust erodes. Paul emphasizes that the church builds itself up only as each part does its work. Key words, in love. I've seen the effects of this unity in my own life. It did not unfold through one dramatic event. Rather, it developed gradually through weakened trust, eroded accountability, and a leadership that was not functioning in shared humility. When the concern for power began to outweigh the concern for people, the body strains. When responsibility becomes concentrated rather than shared, ministries begin to operate independently. Faithful servants of the Lord can feel isolated when they feel isolated instead of supported. Disunity rarely announces itself loudly. Often, it enters quietly through unresolved conflict, unchecked authority, and a slow drift from servant leadership. On the contrary, I have seen a church functioning as it was designed to function. In my church, leadership is shared among a team of elders. The pastor serves alongside these elders with equal accountability. No single person carries an unchecked authority. This structure has humility, stability, and wisdom, which allows the church to function as interconnected parts rather than isolated departments. This environment does not eliminate disagreement. However, it ensures that disagreement does not override humility, love, or the shared mission. That's why Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 12 are essential. There should be no division in the body, but every part should have equal concern for one another. The question is not whether we are needed in the church. Rather, it's how are we willing to commit to building up the body of Christ. An orchestra does not succeed because one instrument plays louder than the rest. It succeeds because every musician listens carefully, plays what's on the page, and follows the same conductor. When one player ignores the rest, the music collapses. But when every musician listens carefully and plays together, the result surpasses anything that one single instrument could produce alone. The church works the same way. If you want a healthy church, you cannot merely attend it. You must participate in it. You must value every God-designed role, and you must commit to building up the body. How are you going to commit to building up the body of Christ? God's music was never meant to be played in pieces. Thank you.